Just take it, please. It's all I have left." The words were a whisper, raw with desperation, as the last dollar bill trembled in her hand. A tiny act, yet it would shatter the glass ceiling of her world. Anya Petrova, 23, knew the precise weight of a single dollar bill. It was the crushing weight of a meal skipped, a late bill unpaid, a brother's medicine delayed. Her life was a relentless cycle of 2, sometimes 3, minimum wage jobs, stitching together an existence that barely kept her head above water. Each morning, the shrill scream of her alarm clock was a physical assault, dragging her from a shallow, dreamless sleep. Her small, cramped apartment felt less like a home and more like a temporary shelter from the relentless storm that was her life. Stella's comfort food, the greasy spoon diner where Anya spent most of her waking hours, had become her second skin. The clatter of plates, the hiss of the coffee machine, the smell of stale fryer oil, these were the sounds and scents of her daily grind. She moved through the diner like a ghost, her steps practiced and efficient, a forced smile plastered on her lips. Behind that smile, her feet screamed from hours of standing, her mind reeled from the endless tally of bills, and her heart ached with a quiet, persistent fear. College, once a beacon of hope and a promise to her late parents, was now a distant memory, a dream deferred indefinitely. She had been on track for a nursing degree, a path chosen out of a deep desire to help others, a calling she had to abandon when tragedy struck. Her parents' sudden accident had not only left her and her younger brother, Daniel, orphaned, but also buried them under a mountain of unexpected debt. Anya, then barely an adult herself, had become Daniel's sole guardian. He was her reason for everything, her anchor, and her greatest worry. Daniel, a bright and curious 10-year-old, suffered from severe asthma. His attacks were unpredictable, terrifying events that sent Anya's heart plummeting into her stomach. Each wheezing breath was a blow, each trip to the emergency room a financial setback. The specialized inhalers and regular doctor visits were expensive, constantly chipping away at her meager earnings. This week, an urgent prescription refill, combined with an unexpected medical copay, had completely drained her already fragile savings. The landlady, Mrs. Henderson, a woman whose face was perpetually set in a frown, had left another threatening message. Eviction loomed like a dark cloud over their heads. Tonight, the diner was quiet, the usual dinner rush stifled by a relentless downpour outside. Rain lashed against the large plate glass windows, each drop a percussive beat accompanying the growing storm inside Anya's heart. She watched the clock's slow, deliberate hands, each tick a stark reminder of her empty wallet, her empty refrigerator, and Daniel's empty inhaler. She had exactly $1 left. A single, crumpled, green bill. It wasn't enough for rent. It wasn't enough for Daniel's medicine. It wasn't even enough for a cheap meal to quell the gnawing hunger in her own stomach. It was a symbol of her absolute, undeniable rock bottom. She clutched the dollar bill in her apron pocket, the thin paper feeling both like a desperate lifeline and an unbearable weight. What could $1 possibly do? It felt utterly useless. And yet, a strange, illogical thought began to take root in her exhausted mind. A wild, desperate idea, born from the depths of her despair. What if she gave it away? The thought was absurd, contrary to every instinct of self-preservation. Who would she give it to? And more importantly, why? The answer would arrive moments later, delivered by the soft chime of the diner door, heralding the arrival of a man who would unknowingly hold the key to her shattered future. He stepped inside, a stark contrast to the dreary weather and the worn-out diner. His suit, a sleek, dark fabric, seemed to shed the rain effortlessly. His movements were precise, confident, almost regal. He looked utterly out of place, like a polished gemstone dropped into a dusty, forgotten corner. His eyes, a piercing shade of gray, swept across the nearly empty room, bypassing the smattering of regulars, before briefly landing on Anya. A prickle of unease snaked up her spine. This was no ordinary customer. This man radiated an aura of quiet authority, a powerful presence that commanded attention without uttering a single word. Her hand, still clutching her solitary dollar, tightened reflexively in her pocket. He chose a booth in the farthest corner, a spot that offered a degree of privacy, a clear view of the rain-streaked window. When Anya approached with a menu, he didn't even glance at it. His gaze was fixed on the world outside, his expression as unreadable as a sealed letter. Arthur Caldwell said, "What's good here?" His voice was low, yet remarkably clear, cutting through the ambient hum of the diner. Anya blinked, momentarily flustered. Most patrons pointed or grunted their orders. Anya said, "The meatloaf, sir. It's our house special. Very popular." Arthur Caldwell said, "And what about you? What do you recommend?" He turned his gaze to her then, his gray eyes unnervingly direct, as if he could see straight into her soul, past the practiced smile and the tired facade. Anya felt exposed, vulnerable. She rarely engaged in personal conversations with customers. It was unprofessional, a boundary she strictly maintained. But something in his measured tone, in the intensity of his gaze, compelled her to be honest, to break her own rule. Anya said, "I haven't had a proper meal in 2 days, sir, so I wouldn't know." The words tumbled out before she could stop them, raw and unedited. A hot flush of shame instantly spread across her face. She immediately regretted the confession. Customers didn't want to hear about her struggles. They wanted efficient service, palatable food, and swift bills. The man, Arthur Caldwell, didn't react with surprise or pity. He simply nodded slowly, an almost imperceptible movement. Arthur Caldwell said, "I see. Then I'll have the meatloaf. And a coffee, black." Anya scribbled down the order, her cheeks still burning with embarrassment. She retreated to the kitchen, the welcome blast of heat from the ovens, offering a temporary shield from the stranger's penetrating stare. Gus, the diner's burly, perpetually flour-dusted cook, glanced at her with a knowing look. Gus said, "Rough night, Anya?" His gruff voice held a touch of concern. Gus had a kind heart beneath his tough exterior and had seen too many young people like Anya struggling. Anya said, "Just tired, Gus." She avoided his gaze, knowing full well that Gus could read her like an open book. He was aware of Daniel's medical bills, of the recent eviction threat. Gus grunted. Gus said, "You need to eat something, kid. You're too thin." Anya forced a weak smile and nodded. Eating at the diner, even with her employee discount, was an unthinkable luxury. Every single penny was earmarked for Daniel. She grabbed a clean mug and filled it with steaming black coffee for Arthur Caldwell. Her mind churned, replaying the unsettling encounter. The man's questions, his directness, it was all so unusual. She kept thinking about the single dollar, still crumpled in her pocket. The desperate, illogical idea that had formed in her mind. She returned to Arthur Caldwell's table, placing the coffee down. He took a slow sip, his gaze still fixed on the relentless rain. Arthur Caldwell said, "Do you enjoy this job, Anya?" Anya hesitated. She measured her words carefully. Anya said, "It pays the bills, sir. Most of the time." Arthur Caldwell said, "And when it doesn't?" His question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Anya swallowed hard. The truth felt like a raw nerve. Anya said, "Then you just keep going. You find a way." Her voice was laced with a weary but undeniable determination. He finally looked up, his gray eyes intense, probing. Arthur Caldwell said, "That sounds like a lonely way to live." Anya felt a surge of indignation. This man, with his expensive suit and unreadable eyes, knew nothing of her life, nothing of the crushing responsibility of caring for Daniel. Anya said, "It is what it is, sir." She tried to keep her tone polite, professional. She turned to leave, but he spoke again, stopping her. Arthur Caldwell said, "What's your name, really?" "Anya, you said?" Anya said, "Yes, sir. Anya Petrova." Arthur Caldwell said, "My name is Arthur. Arthur Caldwell." Anya nodded, a faint ripple of recognition passing through her. Arthur Caldwell. The name sounded vaguely familiar, ringing a distant bell, but she couldn't place it. Her mind was too cluttered with more immediate, pressing worries. Gus's booming voice from the kitchen announced that the meatloaf was ready. Anya quickly moved to retrieve the plate. She placed the steaming plate of meatloaf in front of Arthur Caldwell. The rich, savory aroma of gravy and seasoned meat filled the small booth, an intoxicating scent that made Anya's stomach rumble fiercely. She ignored the sharp pang of hunger, her focus entirely on her duties. Arthur Caldwell didn't immediately begin to eat. He simply stared at the plate for a moment, then shifted his gaze back to her. Arthur Caldwell said, "You said you hadn't eaten. Are you hungry now?" Anya's cheeks flushed again. She hated this feeling of being scrutinized, of her poverty being laid bare. Anya said, I'm fine, sir. Her voice was a barely audible mumble. Arthur Caldwell said, Don't lie, Anya. I can see it in your eyes. His voice was soft, but the underlying firmness cut through her defenses, stripping away her pride. Tears welled up, stinging her eyes. Anya bit her lip fiercely, determined not to let them fall. She couldn't afford to cry. Not here. Not now. Anya said, It doesn't matter, sir. I have to work. Arthur Caldwell, with a deliberate motion, pushed the plate of meatloaf across the table, closer to the empty seat opposite him. Arthur Caldwell said, Sit. It wasn't a question or a polite suggestion. It was an unequivocal command. Anya hesitated, her eyes darting around the near-empty diner. Gus was humming tunelessly in the kitchen, oblivious. There were no other customers to witness this strange exchange. Slowly, hesitantly, she slid into the booth, her heart hammering against her ribs. Arthur Caldwell said, Eat. Anya stared at the food, a battle raging within her. Her stomach screamed for nourishment, but her ingrained pride, her fierce independence, pushed back. Anya said, I can't, sir. It's your food. Arthur Caldwell picked up his fork. With a precise movement, he cut a small piece of the meatloaf, then held it out to her. Arthur Caldwell said, Consider it a bonus for good service, Anya. Eat. Anya's resolve crumbled. The tantalizing aroma, the sheer exhaustion, the overwhelming hunger, it was too much to resist. Slowly, tremblingly, she took the small piece of meatloaf. It was a revelation. Rich, savory, deeply comforting. She closed her eyes for a fleeting moment, savoring the taste, the warmth spreading through her. It had been an eternity since she'd eaten anything so delicious. Arthur Caldwell watched her, his expression still unreadable, a faint, almost imperceptible curiosity in his gray eyes. He didn't eat himself, he simply observed her. Anya felt a surge of awkwardness. She quickly finished the small portion, then gently pushed the plate back towards him. Anya said, Thank you, sir. That was very kind. Her voice was thick with a gratitude she rarely allowed herself to feel. Arthur Caldwell finally picked up his own fork and began to eat, slowly and methodically. Anya watched him, a complex swirl of emotions churning within her. Gratitude, confusion, a strange sense of hope. This man was an enigma, a sudden, unexpected intervention in her desolate world. As he ate, Anya's mind returned to her $1. The insane, desperate idea. The feeling of hitting rock bottom. This man, Arthur Caldwell, had just shown her a small, unexpected act of kindness when she needed it most. He was a complete stranger, yet he had offered her food. It wasn't much, but in her world, something was everything. She thought back to her desperate thought from earlier. What would happen if she gave it away? The question echoed in her mind. When Arthur Caldwell finished his meal, he pushed the plate away with a decisive gesture. He reached into his sleek, black leather wallet and pulled out a crisp $50 bill. He placed it carefully on the table. Arthur Caldwell said, Keep the change, Anya. A $50 bill. Anya's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. $50. That was more than she made in tips on a particularly good night. It was enough to cover Daniel's inhaler and perhaps even buy a few days' worth of groceries. A wave of profound relief, so potent it made her lightheaded, washed over her. Anya said, Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Her voice was choked, barely a whisper. She reached for the bill, her fingers trembling with emotion. But as her hand hovered over the crisp paper, her eyes fell upon the single-dollar bill still crumpled in her uniform pocket. The crazy idea, the feeling of absolute desperation, his kindness, the words she had silently repeated to herself. What would happen if she gave it away? A powerful, almost irresistible urge took hold of her. Anya paused. She looked at the $50 bill, then at the man across from her, Arthur Caldwell. His gray eyes were still on her, unblinking, observant, as if he were waiting, testing her. Anya's heart hammered a frantic rhythm against her ribs. This was it. Her last dollar. An act of pure, irrational, selfless kindness, mirroring his. Maybe, just maybe, this tiny gesture would somehow, impossibly, change something. It was a desperate leap of faith into a terrifying, unknown abyss. Slowly, deliberately, she pulled her hand back from the $50 bill. Then, with a newfound resolve, she reached into her pocket and carefully extracted the crumpled, worn dollar bill. She placed it gently on the table, right next to the $50 bill. Arthur Caldwell's eyebrow arched slightly, a flicker of genuine surprise in his usually impassive eyes. Arthur Caldwell said, "What's this, Anya?" His voice held a note of intrigue. Anya took a deep, shaky breath. Anya said, "Sir, you gave me food when I was hungry. You gave me hope. I want to give you this." She pushed the single dollar across the table, towards him. Anya said, "It's all I have left right now. But I want you to have it." The words hung in the quiet diner, heavy with meaning. Arthur Caldwell stared at the dollar, then at Anya. His face was still unreadable, but Anya detected a subtle shift in his intense gaze, a spark of something she couldn't quite name. She braced herself for a dismissive laugh, a look of pity, a stern lecture about needing it more than he did. But none of those reactions came. Instead, Arthur Caldwell, slowly, deliberately, picked up the single dollar bill. He turned it over in his elegant fingers, examining it with an almost reverent curiosity, as if it were a rare, invaluable artifact. Then, he looked at Anya again, and a profound silence descended between them. Arthur Caldwell said, "Why, Anya? Why would you give away your last dollar? Especially now?" His voice was softer this time, edged with a genuine query. Anya's shoulders sagged slightly. Anya said, "Because you were kind to me, sir, and I believe kindness should be paid forward, even when you have nothing left." He remained silent for a long moment, his gaze unwavering. Anya felt fear and peace. She had done it. Whatever the outcome, she could face it. Finally, Arthur Caldwell carefully, almost ceremoniously, placed the dollar bill into his own wallet. He then pushed the $50 bill back across the table towards her. Arthur Caldwell said, "Keep this, and keep your kindness, Anya. It's a rare commodity." Anya stared at the $50 bill, then back at him. She hadn't expected him to take her dollar, much less to leave the 50 for her. A surge of warmth, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, spread through her chest. It was hope, pure and incandescent. Anya said, "Thank you, sir. Thank you." Tears, long suppressed, finally welling up and streaming freely down her cheeks. Arthur Caldwell stood up, his movements fluid and precise, and began to button his impeccably tailored suit jacket. Arthur Caldwell said, "Anya," he said, pausing at the edge of the booth. Arthur Caldwell said, "I want to offer you something else." Anya looked up, hastily wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Anya said, "What is it, sir?" Arthur Caldwell said, "A chance. A real chance. To change your fate." He pulled a thick, glossy business card from his pocket and placed it on the table next to the $50 bill. It was simple, elegant, adorned with a sophisticated logo and a single name, Arthur Caldwell. Below it, embossed in tasteful lettering, were the words, CEO, Caldwell Enterprises. Anya's breath caught in her throat. A sharp, sudden gasp. Caldwell Enterprises. The name finally clicked into place, resonating with a sudden, thunderous clarity. It was a colossal global corporation, a titan in technology and a leader in humanitarian initiatives. Arthur Caldwell was that Arthur Caldwell, the billionaire, the figure who graced the covers of business magazines, the subject of countless news reports and economic analyses. She had just served meatloaf to a billionaire CEO, and she had, in a moment of desperate, selfless impulse, given him her last dollar. Arthur Caldwell said, "Come to my office tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. The address is on the card. Ask for me directly. Don't be late." He turned and walked towards the diner door, his steps silent and purposeful. Just before he reached the exit, he paused and looked back at Anya. A faint smile, genuine and warm, touched his lips, transforming his usually stern features. Arthur Caldwell said, "And, Anya, make sure you eat a good breakfast." Then, he was gone. The diner door chimed softly behind him, leaving Anya utterly alone in the sudden, profound silence, clutching a $50 bill and a business card that felt like a winning lottery ticket. Her mind reeled, a whirlwind of disbelief and burgeoning hope. Caldwell Enterprises. A chance. Could this truly be happening? Or was it all a feverish dream, a cruel trick played by exhaustion and hunger? She looked at the card again, the elegant lettering, solid and real, beneath her trembling fingertips. No, this was not a dream. This was real. And her last dollar, given away in an act of pure, selfless kindness, had somehow, impossibly, opened a door she never even knew existed. A door to a future that, just moments before, had been utterly inconceivable. The weight that had pressed down on her for so long began to lift, replaced by a thrilling, terrifying sense of possibility. For the first time in years, Anya Petrova felt a flicker of true hope. Anya didn't sleep that night. Her mind raced with questions and possibilities. What to wear? What to say? She had no idea what a CEO's office looked like, or what a billionaire CEO wanted. But beneath the worry, excitement surged. This was her chance. The next morning, Anya arrived at the Caldwell Enterprises skyscraper precisely at 8:55 a.m. The building was a shimmering tower of glass and steel, a colossal structure that seemed to pierce the clouds, dwarfing every other building around it. She felt a profound mix of awe and sheer intimidation. The lobby was a cavernous space, with floors of polished marble reflecting the morning light, minimalist abstract art adorning the walls, and a hushed atmosphere that spoke of immense power and wealth. Behind a sleek, curved desk, sat a stern-faced receptionist, her posture impeccable, her expression unreadable. Anya approached the desk, her heart thumping against her ribs, her palms suddenly slick with sweat. Anya said, "Excuse me." Her voice was a little shaky, barely above a whisper. Anya said, "My name is Anya Petrova. I have an appointment with Mr. Caldwell." The receptionist, a woman with perfectly coiffed hair and eyes that seemed to miss nothing, looked at Anya over the rim of her stylish glasses. Receptionist said, "Do you have an appointment time, Miss Petrova?" Her tone was formal, devoid of warmth. Anya said, 9 a.m. He told me to ask for him directly. The receptionist's eyes narrowed imperceptibly, as if processing this unusual request. She seemed to size Anya up, her gaze scrutinizing Anya's slightly worn, but meticulously clean clothes, her nervous posture, the hopeful tremor in her voice. Anya felt a familiar wave of self-consciousness wash over her. She knew, instinctively, that she didn't belong here, not in this world of polished surfaces and hushed power. Receptionist said, "One moment." The receptionist picked up her phone, her fingers moving swiftly across the keypad. She spoke in low, hushed tones, her voice barely audible, then paused, listening intently. When she finally looked back at Anya, there was a faint, almost imperceptible hint of surprise in her expression. Receptionist said, "Mr. Caldwell will see you now. Take the elevator to the top floor. His executive assistant will meet you there." Anya's heart hammered. She walked towards the bank of elevators, her legs feeling like jelly, each step a conscious effort. The ride up was swift and silent, the numbers on the panel flashing higher and higher, a dizzying ascent into the rarefied air of the city's elite. When the doors finally glided open, Anya stepped into another world entirely. The top floor was bathed in glorious natural light, pouring in from immense windows that offered breathtaking, panoramic views of the sprawling city below. A woman with a warm, welcoming smile, impeccably dressed in a tailored business suit, was waiting. Sophia said, "Miss Petrova? I'm Sophia, Mr. Caldwell's executive assistant. Please, come this way." Sophia led Anya down a wide, elegantly carpeted hallway, adorned with more exquisite, modern artwork. They stopped at a massive, dark oak door. Sophia knocked softly, a respectful tap, then opened it, stepping aside. Sophia said, "Mr. Caldwell, Miss Petrova is here." Anya stepped inside. The office was enormous, a testament to power and refined taste. Dark, gleaming wood paneled the walls. Supple leather furniture was arranged artfully, and more pieces of striking modern art punctuated the space. One entire wall was made of seamless glass, offering an unparalleled vista of the city, a miniature world laid out before her. And behind a large, imposing desk of rich, dark wood, sat Arthur Caldwell. He looked up from a stack of papers, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touching his lips. "Arthur," Caldwell said, "Anya, welcome. Please, have a seat." He gestured towards a plush, comfortable-looking armchair positioned opposite his desk. Anya sank into the armchair, clutching her worn purse tightly in her lap. She felt utterly, completely out of her depth, like a small boat adrift in a vast, unpredictable ocean. Anya said, "Thank you for seeing me, sir." Her voice was still a whisper. Arthur Caldwell leaned back in his chair, his gray eyes, as piercing as ever, fixed on her. Arthur Caldwell said, "No, Anya. Thank you for coming, and thank you for your dollar. It was the most valuable dollar I've received in a very long time." Anya felt a blush creep up her neck. Anya said, I wanted to show my gratitude, sir." Arthur Caldwell said, "And you did, in a way that very few people would. Most people, when faced with desperation, become selfish. You did the opposite." He paused, his gaze thoughtful, contemplative. Arthur Caldwell said, "Tell me, Anya, what do you want?" The question hit Anya like a sudden, unexpected blow. What did she want? She had never truly allowed herself the luxury of pondering such a question. Her entire life, for as long as she could remember, had been dictated by a relentless series of musts and needs, survival overriding any personal desires. Anya said, I want to provide for my brother, Daniel, sir." Her voice, though still soft, gained a surprising clarity and firmness. Anya said, "I want him to have the best care, to be healthy. And I want to finish my education. I started a nursing program before things got difficult." Arthur Caldwell nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. Arthur Caldwell said, "A nursing program? That's admirable. You have a compassionate spirit, Anya. That's clear." He picked up a sleek pen from his desk, twirling it idly between his fingers. Arthur Caldwell said, "Tell me about your difficulties. Be honest." Anya took a deep, fortifying breath. The story poured out of her, unedited, raw. She told him everything. About her parents' tragic accident, the mountain of debts they had inadvertently left behind, her agonizing decision to drop out of college and abandon her nursing dreams to become Daniel's sole guardian, the relentless, soul-crushing struggle to make ends meet, the threatening eviction notice, Daniel's increasing and terrifying asthma attacks, the constant fear that gnawed at her. She held nothing back, her voice sometimes cracking with the weight of her emotions, sometimes firm with a quiet, resilient strength. Arthur Caldwell listened intently, his expression unwavering, his gaze never leaving her face. The room was filled with a heavy, profound silence when she finally finished, the last words hanging in the air. "Arthur," Caldwell said. "So," he said, breaking the silence, his voice low and deliberate. Arthur Caldwell said, "You've faced incredible adversity, Anya. And you're still standing, still fighting. And still, you extended kindness to a stranger. At your lowest point." He paused, his gaze softening almost imperceptibly, a hint of genuine warmth entering his eyes. Arthur Caldwell said, "That tells me a great deal about your character." He leaned forward, placing his hands flat on the polished desk, his posture radiating quiet power. Arthur Caldwell said, "Anya, I believe in paying it forward. Your kindness touched me deeply. But I also believe in investing in talent and potential. And you, Anya, have both in abundance. What you lack are opportunities." Anya held her breath, her heart now thundering in her chest. Arthur Caldwell said, "I'm going to offer you two things, Anya." He spoke with quiet authority, his words resonating in the spacious office. Arthur Caldwell said, "First, I'm going to pay for your brother's medical care. All of it, for as long as he needs it. And I'll arrange for a trust fund to ensure his future education and well-being." Anya gasped, a sound torn from her throat. Tears, fresh and hot, sprang to her eyes once more. Anya said, "Sir, you don't have to," she stammered, completely overwhelmed by the sheer generosity, the unbelievable kindness. Arthur Caldwell said, "But I want to. Consider it a testament to the value of $1, freely given. And a recognition of the burden you've carried for too long." His voice was gentle, yet firm. Anya whispered, "Thank you." She couldn't say anything more. The immense weight that had been crushing her for years, the constant, suffocating fear for Daniel's health and future, suddenly felt lighter, as if a colossal stone had been lifted from her chest, allowing her to breathe freely for the first time in what felt like an eternity. Arthur Caldwell continued, "And second, I want to offer you a down position here at Caldwell Enterprises. Not as a waitress, Anya, but as an intern." He paused, letting the words sink in. Arthur Caldwell said, "We have a robust corporate social responsibility program and I believe your empathy and resilience would be invaluable to it. You would work closely with my team, learning the ropes, gaining experience, and part of this offer includes full tuition for you to complete your nursing degree or any other degree you choose. We'll ensure your schedule allows for both work and study. Anya stared at him, completely stunned, her mind struggling to process the enormity of what he was offering. An internship at Caldwell Enterprises? Full tuition for her nursing degree? Daniel's medical care completely covered, with a trust fund for his future? It was an unimaginable future, far beyond anything she had ever dared to dream of. It was a lifeline thrown to her in a raging storm, a future suddenly within grasp, an entire world opening up before her. Anya said, "Sir, I don't know what to say. I don't have experience for something like that." She felt a flicker of doubt, a fear that she wasn't capable of living up to such an extraordinary opportunity. Arthur Caldwell chuckled softly, a rare, warm sound. Arthur Caldwell said, "Experience, Anya, can be taught. Character, however, cannot. And you, Anya, have character in spades. You showed me that with your last dollar. I have no doubt you will excel." He picked up a neatly bound document from his desk. Arthur Caldwell said, "Sophia has prepared an offer letter. It outlines the terms. Take your time, read it over, think about it. But I hope you'll say yes." Anya took the document, her hands trembling so much she almost dropped it. She could barely believe this was real, that this surreal conversation was actually happening. Just yesterday, she was staring down the barrel of eviction, consumed by worry for Daniel's next inhaler dose. Today, she was sitting in a billionaire's office, being offered a life-changing, impossible opportunity, all because of $1 and an impulsive, desperate act of kindness. Anya said, "I don't need to think about it, sir." She looked up, her eyes shining with unshed tears of gratitude and a powerful, newfound determination. Anya said, "I accept. Thank you. Thank you for everything." Arthur Caldwell smiled, a genuine, warm smile that reached his gray eyes, softening their usual intensity. Arthur Caldwell said, "Welcome aboard, Anya. I believe you're going to do great things." And so, Anya Petrova's new life began. She started her internship at Caldwell Enterprises, feeling like a tiny, insignificant fish suddenly dropped into a vast, deep ocean. The corporate world was entirely foreign to her, a maze of complex jargon and unspoken rules. But Anya was a quick learner, observant, dedicated, and fiercely intelligent. She poured all her energy into her new role, asking endless questions, diligently taking notes, absorbing every piece of information she could. Her innate compassionate nature, the very quality Arthur Caldwell had recognized, proved to be an invaluable asset in the corporate social responsibility department. She understood the struggles of the underprivileged, having lived them herself, and she brought a unique, deeply human perspective to their initiatives. At the same time, she re-enrolled in her nursing program, attending classes in the evenings, fueled by a renewed sense of purpose. The crippling financial burden that had weighed her down for years was gone, replaced by a quiet, determined focus. Daniel's health improved dramatically, thanks to access to top-notch medical care and specialists who truly understood his condition. He was able to attend school regularly, his bright laughter once again filling their small apartment. Anya watched him thrive, a profound warmth spreading through her chest, a feeling of deep contentment that no amount of money could ever buy. Arthur Caldwell, true to his word, became more than just a CEO. He became a personal mentor to Anya, taking a genuine, personal interest in her growth and development. He frequently called her into his spacious office to discuss ongoing projects, offering incisive guidance, challenging her to think bigger, to push the boundaries of her own perception. He saw in her a raw, untapped potential that went far beyond what even Anya herself imagined. He was a stern but fair leader, always pushing her to excel, to reach for heights she hadn't known existed. One afternoon, several months into her demanding but exhilarating internship, Arthur Caldwell called Anya into his office. He held a small, elegantly framed object in his hand, a mysterious item that piqued Anya's curiosity. Arthur Caldwell said, "Anya, do you recognize this?" He held out the frame. Anya looked at the frame. Inside, carefully preserved and displayed against a dark velvet background, was a single, crumpled dollar bill. Her dollar, the very one she had given him that rainy night in the diner. Anya felt a sudden lump form in her throat, a wave of emotion washing over her. Anya said, "My dollar, sir," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. Arthur Caldwell said, "Indeed. I framed it. It sits on my desk, a constant reminder." He paused, his gaze thoughtful, almost reflective. Arthur Caldwell said, "A reminder that true wealth isn't measured in bank accounts, but in generosity of spirit. A reminder that sometimes the smallest act of kindness can have the greatest impact." He paused again, his gray eyes piercing, yet full of a profound understanding. Arthur Caldwell said, "You taught me a valuable lesson that night, Anya. One that, even with all my vast resources and experience, I had almost forgotten." Anya looked from the framed dollar to Arthur Caldwell, a deep, overwhelming sense of gratitude washing over her. She had given him her last dollar, a seemingly insignificant gesture, and in return, he had given her back her entire life, a future filled with promise and opportunity. Over the next few transformative years, Anya flourished at Caldwell Enterprises. She excelled in her role, quickly moving from a mere intern to a full-time position as a project manager within the corporate social responsibility department. Though she had completed her nursing degree with honors, her newfound passion for making a systemic, lasting difference kept her firmly rooted at Caldwell. She spearheaded innovative initiatives that truly changed lives, overseeing projects to build schools in desperately underprivileged areas, establishing vital medical clinics where healthcare was scarce, and creating comprehensive job training programs that empowered communities globally. Her unique blend of profound empathy, born from her own struggles, and her practical, hands-on experience made her an invaluable asset to the company and a powerful force for good. Her name, Anya Petrova, which had once only appeared on diner pay stubs, began to appear in Caldwell Enterprises' internal reports, then in official press releases, and eventually, in prominent business articles highlighting the company's groundbreaking commitment to community impact. She became widely known for her unwavering dedication, her fierce integrity, and her remarkable ability to connect with people from all walks of life, from the highest-ranking executives to the most marginalized individuals in remote villages. One pivotal day, 5 years after that fateful rainy night in Stella's comfort food diner, Arthur Caldwell called a special, unannounced board meeting. Anya, now a respected and influential leader within the company, received an invitation, though she was initially unsure of its purpose. The room was filled with the most powerful executives and esteemed board members of Caldwell Enterprises, a collection of some of the sharpest minds in the global business world. Anya sat quietly, observing the hushed intensity of the room, a sense of anticipation building around her. Arthur Caldwell stood at the head of the long, polished conference table, his presence commanding immediate attention. He began by speaking eloquently about the company's enduring vision, its core values, and its ambitious future trajectory. Then, he paused, his gaze sweeping slowly across the faces in the room, his eyes finally settling on Anya, a subtle warmth in their depths. Arthur Caldwell said, "5 years ago," he began, his voice clear, resonant, and carrying immense weight, "I met someone who reminded me of the true meaning of leadership. Someone who, with nothing but a compassionate heart and her last dollar, showed me more courage, integrity, and selflessness than many people I'd met in countless boardrooms." Anya felt a blush creep up her neck, a hot wave of recognition. She knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that he was talking about her. Arthur Caldwell continued, his voice gaining a powerful conviction. Arthur Caldwell said, "This person joined Caldwell Enterprises as an intern, with no prior corporate experience but with boundless potential. She has since transformed our corporate social responsibility initiatives, bringing a level of passion, insight, and effectiveness that has truly made an indelible difference in the world. She embodies the very spirit of what we, as Caldwell Enterprises, strive to be." He took a deep breath, his gaze unwavering. Arthur Caldwell said, "It is with immense pride and complete, unreserved confidence that I now announce my decision to appoint Anya Petrova as the new Vice President of Corporate Social Responsibility. She will be joining the executive leadership team, effective immediately." A stunned, profound silence descended upon the room. Then, a ripple of murmurs, hushed and astonished, quickly gave way to a wave of polite, then enthusiastic, applause. Anya herself was completely speechless, her mind struggling to comprehend the magnitude of the shelf. Announcement. Vice President. It was a title she had never, in her wildest dreams, imagined she would ever hold. Her eyes met Arthur Caldwell's across the room, and in his gaze, she saw a profound pride, a deep satisfaction. After the meeting, a flurry of executives approached Anya, eager to congratulate her, shaking her hand with genuine warmth, their expressions a mix of surprise and sincere admiration. Arthur Caldwell waited patiently until the room had mostly cleared. Then he approached her, a warm, knowing smile on his face. Arthur Caldwell said, "Congratulations, Anya. You've earned this, and so much more." Anya's eyes were glistening, brimming with tears of joy and disbelief. Anya said, "Sir, I don't know what to say. Thank you. For everything. For believing in me when no one else did." Arthur Caldwell placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. Arthur Caldwell said, "Anya, you always believed in yourself. You just needed a different path, and a little push. Remember that dollar, Anya? The one you gave me?" Anya nodded, a soft smile gracing her lips. Arthur Caldwell said, "That dollar, Anya, was not just an act of kindness. It was an investment in humanity, in compassion, in the profound belief that even in our darkest moments, we can choose to be better. And it has paid dividends beyond measure." He looked at her, his smile widening, his eyes twinkling with a shared secret. Arthur Caldwell said, "Now, Vice President Petrova, we have a lot of important work to do, and I know you're ready for it." Anya's journey, from a struggling waitress clinging to her last dollar to a powerful vice president in a global corporation, became a living testament to the powerful, far-reaching ripple effect of a single, selfless act of kindness. That $1, given from a place of desperation and unyielding hope, had not just changed her own life, but had sparked a chain of events that would go on to impact countless others around the world. She never, not for a single moment, forgot where she came from. She carried the invaluable lessons learned in Stella's comfort food diner and the profound struggles of her early life with her always, using them to fuel her unwavering passion for creating a more just and compassionate world. She continued to advocate tirelessly for those less fortunate, ensuring that Caldwell Enterprises' vast resources and influence were strategically used to uplift and empower communities globally, not just for profit, but for genuine, sustainable change. Daniel, now a healthy, bright, and incredibly focused young man, was thriving in college, studying to become a doctor, inspired by the exceptional care he had received and his sister's unwavering strength and dedication. Anya's relationship with Arthur Caldwell evolved into a deep, mutual respect and a genuine friendship. He remained her steadfast mentor, guiding her through the complexities of corporate leadership, but he also became a close confidant, a testament to the powerful, unexpected bond forged in a quiet diner on a rainy night. He saw in her not just an exceptional employee, but a true partner in his enduring vision for a more compassionate and socially responsible corporate world. Years later, Arthur Caldwell, now nearing a well-deserved retirement, often spoke of Anya, of the unassuming waitress who, in a moment of extraordinary generosity, had given him her very last dollar. He would recount the story to new hires during orientation, to seasoned board members, to anyone who would listen, his voice filled with a profound sense of awe and gratitude. He called it, simply, the dollar that changed everything. Arthur Caldwell would say, his eyes twinkling with wisdom gained from an unexpected source, "It taught me that the most valuable assets a company can truly have aren't found in its balance sheets, or in its quarterly reports, but in the unwavering hearts and the compassionate spirit of its people." And sometimes, the most profound and life-altering lessons come from the most unexpected teachers, in the most unlikely of places. Anya, now a leader in her own right, with an unparalleled reputation for integrity and impact, continued to carry that invaluable lesson forward, embedding it into the very fabric of Caldwell Enterprises culture. She championed empathy, uncompromising integrity, and the enduring belief that every individual, no matter how humble their beginnings, possesses the inherent power to make a significant difference in the world. Her story, the incredible story of the poor waitress who gave her last dollar, became a cherished legend within Caldwell Enterprises, a constant, powerful reminder that kindness, truly and selflessly given, is never, ever wasted. Her life was a vibrant, intricate tapestry, woven with threads of struggle, resilience, and extraordinary, unforeseen opportunity. She had not only survived her rock bottom, but had transformed it, with remarkable courage and an open heart, into a formidable springboard for unparalleled success and widespread impact, all because of one extraordinary moment of selfless generosity that resonated deeply with the heart and vision of a powerful, discerning man. So, what about you? Have you ever witnessed a small, seemingly insignificant act of kindness that ended up having a profoundly huge, unexpected impact? Or perhaps you've been the one fortunate enough to give, or to receive, such an incredible gift. Share your inspiring stories in the comments section below. Let's remember, together, the enduring power of compassion, and maybe, just maybe, by sharing our experiences, we can inspire someone else to pay it forward, to extend a hand, to offer a kindness when it's needed most. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more uplifting stories that remind us of the incredible, resilient human spirit. Your engagement truly helps us share these powerful messages with even more people around the world, creating a ripple effect of kindness.